Helicopters are en route, part of the Russian search and recovery forces known as Rosaviatsia. They are en route from the staging city of Karaganda down to either Jezkazgan, a town to the southwest of Karaganda at a distance of about 460 kilometers, where the helicopters will be refueled. Several of the helicopters will be airborne within the next 20 minutes or so from Karaganda directly to the prime landing site. They'll all converge at the time that the Soyuz vehicle arrives under its main parachute for touchdown that is scheduled at 3:14 and 34 seconds a.m. Central Time.
And right now,
the second separation burn has now been executed by Oleg Kononenko. The Soyuz TMA 03M now drifting to a safe distance away from the International Space Station for the deorbit burn that is scheduled at 2:19 and 14 seconds a.m. Central Time. It now will be a 4-minute, 15-second braking maneuver to slow the Soyuz down by 115.2 meters per second, enabling it to drop out of orbit for its descent back into the Earth's atmosphere and a touchdown on the southeastern steppe of Kazakhstan, completing 193 days in space for Oleg Kononenko, Don Pettit, and Andrei Kuipers, 191 days on board the International Space Station. Expedition 32 now officially underway on the complex under the command of the first three-time commander of the International Space Station, Gennady Padalka.
A square and a half. V13, boost 1, 3, not illuminated, accelerometer not illuminated, repress not illuminated, RRP program and is being selected at this time. Mode. RRP program not illuminated. E1, go ahead and send that, please. In work, E1. E6. E6 or E8. V8, I'm sorry, I misled you. Yes, V8. Please send that command, Andre. L2. Copy, L2. Good copy. L2. L18. Did you send that command? Yes. V18. We're passing by ATV, Andre, by the way. So V18 still needs to be sent. Switch over and work.
Andrei Kononenko reminding his board engineer, Andrei Kuipers, who is strapped into the seat to Kononenko's left in the descent module of the Soyuz spacecraft, to take a look, one final look at the Johannes Kepler automated transfer vehicle that has made it to the aft end of the Zvezda service module. The Soyuz is phasing directly below and behind the International Space Station, ultimately to a distance of 12 kilometers for the deorbit burn. That will be coming up about 2 hours and 18 minutes from now.
Almost nothing. Moscow, we're done with closeout ops. Copy. Schedule parameters 166, 167, pressure. And for pressure 528, copy. Did you switch Vizir? Yes, we did. Copy. By the next compass, please be prepared to start descent and re-entry up. We will be ready.
The Soyuz commander, Oleg Kononenko, at the time of landing here in the next few hours, will have wrapped up 392 days in space on his 2 flights. He flew as part of Expedition 17 4 years ago. Kononenko will wind up in 14th place on the all-time list for space endurance.
Relay, though, right?
Don Pettit, with the completion of this mission, will rank 4th on the all-time list for most time in space by an American astronaut. His 370 days in space puts him behind Mike Fink, Peggy Whitson, and Mike Foale on the all-time U.S. space endurance list. Andrei Kuipers of the European Space Agency completing 204 days in space on his 2 flights, having flown up and down on a Soyuz flight for the European Space Agency, 11 days on his initial mission back in 2004.
Make sure you know what to expect. And Sasha, did you watch telemetry during the test? Yes, we did. And? Right now, we're analyzing telemetry that we got. We think, from what we saw through the TV cameras during the separation of the vehicle, everything looks good. And preliminary parameters look good for the test.
Хорошо.
Okay, and was it recorded? Oleg, it was recorded. Very good.
Oleg Kononenko, the Soyuz commander, strapped into the center seat of the descent module, the center section of the Soyuz spacecraft, receiving good reports from the Russian flight controllers at the Russian Mission Control Center outside Moscow on the completion of that digital autopilot test, once again verifying a component, an upgraded component in the Soyuz spacecraft that would enable a redocking or a manual docking of a Soyuz to the Russian segment of the station in the unlikely event of the failure of an automated cores system on board the complex. This would enable a Soyuz commander to manually fly the Soyuz vehicle in for a docking in a much more facile manner than before, without the station crew having to tend to the reorientation of the station.
Antares, Mission Control, Moscow, go ahead. No, actually, it was Gennady calling the ISS flight control room.
Да, переконфигурация сделана, можно в SG-1 с вами разговаривать даже. Все, хорошо, мы приводим превосходно.
The Soyuz TMA 03M, visible from cameras on the International Space Station as well as the complex, flying over the North Pacific at an altitude of 250 statute miles. Both spacecraft beginning a northwest to southeasterly track that will carry the 2 vehicles into an orbital sunset just a few minutes from now.
Москва, ответьте Антаресом.
Отвечаю. Москва, Антарес. Go ahead, Antares.
Саш, наверное, можем передачу отжать уже.
Sasha, can we release the transmit button?
Можно передачу отжать, работать по тангенте.
Yeah, I think so. Let me just double check on that, but I think we're good with that, and you can press on for the rest of the free flight with the push-to-talk button to talk to us. Okay, and we're releasing the transmit button.
The Soyuz TMA 03M phasing away from the International Space Station. In the descent module, the center section, Oleg Kononenko, the Soyuz commander, flying under the call sign of Antares, which was also the name of the lunar module that landed on the moon on Apollo 14 in February of 1971 with Alan Shepard and Edgar Mitchell on board. The top section of the Soyuz, that bulbous section, that's the orbital module, and the lower section, the instrumentation and propulsion module with the solar arrays. Those three sections will separate in a pyrotechnic separation of the modules at 2:47 a.m. Central Time, about 28 minutes after the deorbit burn. The separation of the modules will enable the descent module to be reoriented with the heat shield flying first into the atmosphere to ablate or bleed off all of the heat that will be generated by the high-speed reentry of the Soyuz back into the Earth's atmosphere. Atmospheric entry reaching the first traces of the Earth's atmosphere at an altitude of about 400,000 feet will occur at 2:50 a.m. Central Time. That will be followed by the command to begin the sequence of parachute deployments. First, a drogue chute that will deploy. The drogue chute will cant the Soyuz spacecraft at an angle. The drogue chute, which measures about 24 square meters, will slow the Soyuz down from a descent rate of 230 meters per second to just 80 meters per second. That will be followed by the release of the main parachute, covering an area of about 1,000 meters. It slows the Soyuz to a descent rate of 7.2 meters per second. The harnesses first allowing the Soyuz to descend at an angle of 30 degrees to expel heat, and then shifting the Soyuz to a straight vertical descent. Just seconds before touchdown, of course, you are familiar with the firing of the soft landing engines. One final braking maneuver that will slow the Soyuz down and enable it to touch down on the southeast steppe of Kazakhstan, with the landing site about halfway between the towns of Jezkazgan and the landing staging city of Karagan.